before I get to a question, you two are incredible in this show. You're so good.
Oh, well, don't get to any questions. Just
let's just talk about that.
This whole time is just going to be me praising your performances in this. And I mean it. So, Hamish, I was reading in the press notes that you sent in an audition tape for this one. And Mike and Trevor said that your take on the character was super unique in that tape. So what were some of your primary goals when you put that audition tape together?
Get hired. Number one, get hired, win the job. Don't let anyone else do it instead of me. Those were my 3 priorities. I mean, this was like, and it was one of those terrible auditions. Sometimes they'll give you like, oh, here's a 3-page scene. Oh, 7 pages. Oh, they'd given me 9 pages. And then the day before I go to tape it, they say, would you just do 5 more? So I had 14 pages. And I was like, no, this is ridiculous. But when you start to work on it, because Mike is such a good writer, it sort of pours into you in a way that doesn't really seem fair. And I guess it was an adequate read on the role to win the job.
All right. Samantha, with Bev, I feel like we get a lot of backstory for most of the other characters in terms of setting up why they are the way they are when the show begins and why they make certain choices. We don't get that for her, and we don't necessarily need it, but I find that when I get super fascinated by a character, I need to know everything about them. So just for you with tackling the role, did you ever come up with a backstory by yourself or with Mike to determine why she has this agenda today?
The backstory for myself, I did have pieces, and it was mainly less about the specifics of her life and more about how she felt about the island. And so I did feel that it was really important to me that she felt an ownership of it, and that was what's driving her, was that she had decided that she knew exactly how everything was going to run because she had been there as long as she had been. And I just feel like she her position, she felt very queen-like over it. And so that was where I was going. And as far as Mike's discussion with our character, it was really along those lines of her belief in her belief in her correctness and her being right. And that helped me with absolutely everything, because it was a very easy line to follow about anything I'm saying, anything I'm doing. It's with complete conviction that is exactly what should be done.
Comes across very clearly like that. Here's a question for both of you. Another thing that we don't need, but again, another thing that because I like the show and I'm greedy, I want to know about. Did you ever talk through what the first conversation was like between Bev and Pruitt, where he told her exactly what was going on and what her very first reaction to it was?
Okay, you be me and I'll be you.
Okay. Beverly, I think it's very important you should know who I am. I am actually Pruitt.
I know it.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
That's how it went. That was how we do that sort of. We do swapsy provsies.
I never would have imagined it that way, but it feels very accurate to me.
That was actually very accurate of the inside for her. I mean, she's living her best life by the end of this. She's on a good run.
All right, Hamish, from Pruitt's perspective, one thing that I was wondering about is, what do you think would have happened if everything went perfectly according to plan? What might Crockett Island look like in the end? And then what were some of his hopes for how that would wind up changing the world beyond it?
It's a wonderful question. I think if he thinks about it deeply, he thinks this is the next stage in human evolution. I mean, there will be no more death. And I don't know how that works with overpopulation. Maybe we need to invest more in space travel at that point. And he thinks, but there will be plenty of time to work on aerodynamics. Like the best minds won't go away anymore.
Pruitt in space. Yeah.
But I think the experience he's had, his new level of awakening has been so vivid that he just believes that these are the right steps that he's taking.
All right, Samantha, I have a big old spoiler question for you right now, because one of the moments that struck me most is when she runs away in the church. And I'm curious, when you're playing a beat like that, is her running away coming from a place of just simply being scared of what's happening, or is there an agenda in her not wanting to turn?
I think it's one of those beautiful moments where it is her, just the weakness of humanity coming through, of really seeing in these moments what she has wrought in a way. And I think that that was a very fun thing to play, because it can almost read humorous if you're watching her kind of like yoink out the side door. And I love that Mike went for that moment when everybody sees me standing there. And yeah, I think it was fear. I think it was fear for the truth of what was happening.
All right, for both of you now, because we don't have enough time to get to every incredible scene you have in the show, you're both essentially operating at an 11 for like 99% of it. So if you had to, look at the shooting schedule and circle one particular day in red that made you think like that day in particular, I'm going to have my work cut out for me, what would that day be?
I had like three, I had like a week, I had everything happened at once in the schedule for me. So, and like the sermons were at the end, but like all the long AA scenes with Riley, that happened over sort of 3 days, and scared the crap out of me for a year, as it turned out. Because,
I could never hold a candle to what Hamish is working his way through all the time. It was made it look easy. But my day, I think, is when I'm talking about putting the carpet scene, for me was a mouthful, but also incredibly fun. I mean, that's the thing with what Mike writes, like Hamish said, it's just fun. You just kind of ride the wave of what's on the page.
All right, I think I have time to squeeze in one more question unless someone yells at me. Hamish, one thing I was wondering about, do you have to create a construct for your character before and after turning? Were there significant changes in who he was deep down when he changed in the supernatural sense?
I try to keep it simple and just do the right thing from one scene to the next. It does change, like his goal, his plan changes as the show goes on, but always focusing on what the positive outcome of each scene can be, and that sort of is the lifeline. And I will say one thing many things in praise of Sam Sloyan, but the stuff that's harder to memorize out of these massive things are the biblical texts, because then suddenly you're in Mike's rhythm, and then suddenly it sort of like veers over and you're in Old Testament rhythm or some other translation thing. And actually Sam had the bulk of that, and she would just glide into it so beautifully. And I think I was dead on the floor, or very bloody on the floor. We had that day, that massive day of in the carpet. And I was like, wow. And then I said again to myself, wow.
Said wow quite a bit while watching this, but I mean, in all honesty, wow, you two are incredible. You really knocked this out of the park. Huge congratulations to you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.